Mike, last week people misinterpreted my words. Now, I respect the effort of the people to seek justice and what they're doing. I just knew it was time for more. You know what I mean? Like more action than a tweet. Also,
Well,
my mom also always told me, mom, I sat in that passenger seat getting picked up from school every day and dropped off, and I would look outside that window. I would look
yeah,
outside the window. We live in the hood, so you're gonna
yeah,
you see situations when you riding
yeah,
home. You could look
yeah,
at, you know what I mean. You don't, you say I might make a comment, an
yeah,
opinion, give my opinion on what I just saw. Bop,
yeah,
writing them out. Bop,
yeah,
mind your
yeah,
fucking business.
yeah,
Mind your fucking business.
yeah,
Mind your business. And so
yeah,
you don't even ask why. You don't
yeah.
ask why you smack me. Why I need to mind my business. Why? But you know one thing. I need to mind my damn business.
I need a
And
mama
you know
business.
what I mean. So for folk out there who figured that, you know what I mean, whatever Wayne don't say this or whatever he's not. Listen, I'm from New Orleans. You understand? I'm from New Orleans where we what we know what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, around the world finally, because the camera phones and all that, baby, we went through that every week. We
Yeah,
saw that, we went through that, we lived that every week. We gave the police names just
yeah,
because of who they were and how they were,
yeah,
and we got used to that. If we obviously we got very used to it because we gave them names. You know what I mean? Is it our fault? Is it we don't know, but that was the system, and that's what I got. That's what I grew up in. So I
yeah.
mean, don't blame me, don't fault me, but if you do, you already know.
What's good, everybody? It's your girl J.DaVille coming to you guys live from Black is a Berry podcast. Um, what you guys just saw was a clip of Lil Wayne. I guess he had made some comments about what everything that's been going on since the riots and since all the protests. And for one, I do appreciate Wayne for kind of coming out and kind of clearing the air about like what all he meant by the comment that he gave. But I also appreciate the authenticity that he was able to give. He was just able to really come from a real genuine space where it's like, if you do have some form of compassion, you kind of understand, like, it's more, I don't even really want to say ignorant, but it's more, him being raised in a certain environment that makes him respond to these things the way that he does. Um, I think it's interesting that he mentioned about, he kind of gave a scenario about, as a child, anytime he saw situations like this go on, within his own neighborhood or within the vicinity of, where he was, of course, as a child, he was curious. So he would ask questions. He would probably give, of course, like he said, he would give an opinion about whatever is going on. But he was basically punished for giving that opinion. He was punished for giving that particular perspective. And we kind of got to look at that in a way of, you know, many people are looking for him to make certain comments and I guess support more or support better. But I mean, we got to kind of think about it. We asking a man who is conditioned to do something and speak or not speak on things in a certain manner. We're asking him to do what he's conditioned to not do. And when it comes to conditioning, if we even want to go into whole Pavlov's classic conditioning, if we want to go into all of that, we can kind of look at it as, if you get beat enough, if you get hit enough, if pain gets registered enough, whatever is causing that pain, whatever is causing that discomfort, you're going to eventually change it. Even if it's for that moment, even if it's for a second, you're going to eventually change it to prevent yourself from having to go through or deal with that type of pain. So we can look at the same situation and say, well, at one point he was speaking on it, but after he endured so much pain or endured so much punishment for that particular action, he eventually stopped that action. And if this happened when he was a child, then of course as an adult, of course as a 30, 40-year-old man, he's not gonna really comprehend what it, maybe not even that he doesn't comprehend, but when you are conditioned to be a certain way, you know, that's how you kind of come off to everyone. So what we see as him not caring, and you know, people not speaking up and people not jumping the gun, what we see is that, you know, it may be, you know, he wasn't raised in that type of environment, he wasn't raised that way. And I know, you know, a lot of people may say, well, you don't have to be raised a certain type of way to speak up, and that's very true. But I mean, you kind of got to look at all the different factors that come into it. um and with his mama whooping him, with his mama popping him, to be completely honest, 9 times out of 10, she didn't know that this was possibly causing some type of harm to her son. She was, you know, thinking of being in, you know, I'm not a mother, so I only know from a certain type of perspective. But, you know, as a single mother with a son, she wasn't trying to do nothing but figure out ways to protect her son, figure out ways to keep her son out of that. And one of the first ways that she, you know, saw fit was, you know, anytime he has a comment on it, you know, make sure I correct that. And correcting that is putting my hands on them. Is, you know, and let's be real, a lot of parents believe in the spare the rod, spoil the child. A lot of people believe in that. So, you know, for me, I won't look at it as a judgment thing, but just more so of, you know, I really don't think that his mom knew better, you know. And if we want to talk about like learned behavior, a lot of the things that we do in the black community that we consider a norm and that we consider a part of our culture, a lot of that stuff is toxic. A lot of that stuff is dysfunctional. And to be honest, there are like a plethora of things that we need to unlearn. But, you know, it just kind of, like I say, it just kind of speaks to how behavior can also be learned. I don't think everything is generational. I think some things are just, we have not unlearned, we have not, you know, stopped doing this particular behavior, so we end up passing it down, you know, so that cycle ends up continuing. So like I say, man, a lot of I'm looking at this from a space of conditioning. You know, he was conditioned to be that way. Can you blame someone who's conditioned? You know, and I even appreciate him saying, you know, is it our fault? Is it their fault? I mean, it's really not a matter of blame. It's not a matter of trying to place the blame on anyone or anything. It's more so of trying to figure out like some type of solution and how to make these type of situations better, you know, how to, you know, educate people on this, you know. And I know a lot of people looking at, oh, well, he needs to self-educate. Him being from the hood, he should know better. But I mean, if you really think about it, because certain resources are lacking in the hood, sometimes they don't know better. You know, I've seen it myself where, because the parent don't understand what I was really saying, yeah, you trying to beat the child. And I had to, you know, there's been plenty of times where I kind of got to stop a parent and be like, hey, no. I ain't saying they did anything wrong. I'm just letting you know, because I don't want you to say, well, ain't nobody tell me. Nah, like, that's really what this is about. But because, you know, they're so used to, you know, sometimes it's a parent being used to hearing bad information about their child. So they want to lay down the law right then and there, you know, because the child may know that their parent don't play, but everybody else may not know that. But when it comes to not playing, I think a lot of times we display a certain type of dominant behavior towards our kids, but you wouldn't display that same type of behavior with an adult. And it kind of make you look at it like, you know, is this a power thing? You know, are you doing this as a protection or as a precaution? Or is this more about you having the say so? Is it more about you being the law? Is it more about what you say go? Or is it really, you know, a thing of protection? And to be real, that, you know, that's an experience that a lot of black children go through. And sometimes you don't even have to be from the hood, you know. Just having stricter parents, you know, that can definitely play its role into the learned behavior, especially when it comes to the way that we discipline our kids. And even like I was saying, you know, with a lot of things that we deem as cultural, in the black culture and in the black community, we deem questioning something that is anything related to authority, that's deemed as something that's disrespectful. But then you have to stop and kind of ask yourself, where does that behavior come from? Why and how did that become a cultural thing? Where did it originate? You know, when did it come into play? Like, how is that now a part of our culture? You know, I never knew that asking a question was a bad thing. You know, and even just the way that we move now as a black community, because so many people have been conditioned to not talk. So many people have been conditioned to ignore certain things and kind of not even turn a blind eye, but if it ain't you, you know, like he was saying, you know, we are taught as children, mind your own business, don't be a snitch, don't come tattletelling. Like, we're taught these things as children. So, you know, when we become adults and, you know, you get people that say, well, why people ain't speaking up about it, and why did it take so? Because they're conditioned to be that way. You know, and it's like I said, it's not a matter of fault. It's more of, it's conditioned. What have you been exposed to that makes you respond to it the way that you do? But I do know that that's something that, you know, and it makes it difficult to stand up for yourself, because, you know, even that, standing up for yourself looks like disrespect. So we'll take the protests and what's going on right now. We'll take all of this. What does it look like to some people? It looks like a disrespectful act. Even with Cap kneeling before the flag, that looked like disrespect to some people. Why? Because it challenged authority. It challenged the norm. It challenged what people were used to. So it definitely made people uncomfortable. But anytime a black person questions authority or goes against authority, it's deemed as disrespectful. But if anyone else does it, any other culture, any other person, any other child, if they do it, nobody bats an eye. But as soon as it happens on this side, you know, everybody got questions. Everybody either got questions or they want to do something about someone being vocal or observant. So, I mean, I think that's a part of, not to go too deep, but that's a part of the divide and conquer mindset. I know a lot of people don't like to view themselves or basically have any part of slavery. I definitely understand the discomfort and why you don't want any parts of that. But I think people should just take a moment and just take an educational moment and go read the Willie Lynch letter. And you go read that letter and you come back and tell me how much of that stuff is still present. And it's not present because it can't be broken. It's present because of conditioning. Conditioning is very strong. Conditioning is how you train animals to do certain things. Conditioning is how you potty train children. So I think that when we talk about the concept of conditioning, I think people should go read that letter and just see how much that stuff comes into play today. Even if you look at, like I said, some of those things that we deem as cultural in the black community, some of those things are in that letter. And I think that, like I said, if we consider the past, I think it will be easier to move on and move forward to the future. But I do know we can't keep passing down the same type of behaviors, because if that's the case, then no, we'll never get out of this shit. We'll never get out of this. And as I said before, you know, when it comes to the protests and everything that's going on, everybody has their different role to play. Everybody is not going to be on the same straight and narrow. Yeah, some people do need to vote. Some people do need to be protesting. Some people do need to be in the background building businesses. All of that needs to occur. But I think one of the things that's going to help us move forward is we have to stop blaming and pointing the finger and trying to criticize when we don't agree with something, when we don't agree with someone's way of doing it. One thing that we need to agree on, and I'm like, what's the problem? Is the do for self part. The do for self part. We gotta figure out how to get that in, because that is definitely one of the reasons why we going through what we going through. And even though it's not happening to you individually today, who's to say that someone in your family can't be a victim of the same injustice or the same problem tomorrow? Even the folks that say black on black crime, y'all right. Nobody's saying that you're wrong. But don't just make that point. What would you like to do about that? And like I said, if you come from a place of compassion and a little bit more understanding, go talk to some of them young men. Ain't nothing wrong with them, but they just angry. And you give any young man who's angry, give him a gun and see what happens. It's never an excuse, but we can't act like it's not a factor. And I think that's what happens when we leave certain factors out. That's when the bullshit can sneak in, because we're not considering everything. We're not laying everything out on the table. So there are, it's a lot of things that play into what bro was saying, but, certain people not speaking up and not saying, it's understandable. But in order for us, like I said, to succeed within this, everybody has to play their role. And then there's something else too. If somebody don't know better, if you feel like somebody is ignorant, take a few moments to even if you can't understand, take a few moments to try. And if you can't try to understand them, you do know that you can agree to disagree, right? We don't have to have the exact same ideology to move forward together. We don't. But when we allow those things to play into our major decisions, and they only doing what they doing for one reason, cause our ass is black. That's it. That's the only fucking reason. So can we be collective for that same reason? And if we can't, can we at least be collective to save a black life? Cause that's what it's about. Nobody cares what religion you're a part of. Don't nobody care what spiritual group you're a part of. Don't nobody care what non-profit you represent. Nobody cares about those things. Not anybody that's really, trying to, progress and help us move forward. What they like to call it is intellectual masturbation, because that's what it is. You just want to get off based on what you know. Learn something new. It's okay. And the crazy part is we'll get along with every culture, every group of people, but them people different from us. Actually, sometimes that's the reason why we we end up going to these different people because they different. So basically what I'm saying is we can't allow our differences to further the problem, if that makes sense. At some point we got to get on the same page. But like I was saying, you know, if you feel like somebody ignorant and you feel like they don't know, try to get an understanding. Try to get a better understanding. And you know, it's real brave of Wayne to come to say what he said, man. It's powerful what he said. And for you to be able to admit you got money, you got fans, you got all the women you want, you got anything in the world that you want, you can have, for the most part. And for him to say, well, shit, I just didn't know. I didn't know better. I didn't grow up that way. It's powerful for him to say. It's power in the recognition of it. Because we laugh and we criticize, but how many more Lil Waynes out there? You get a lot of people who mad at Boosie right now. Motherfuckers is mad at Boosie right now. But if you look at all of them, if you look at Wayne, if you look at Boosie, if you look at Kevin Gates, if you look at NBA Youngboy, there's a lot of similarities in what these guys do. There's a lot of similarities in the way that they think. It's a lot of similarities in the shit that they say. Hey, them boys from New Orleans be saying some shit, boy. Them jokers be saying some shit. You gotta be like, oh, okay, baby. Cause they will say some shit make your head swim. Okay. But like I said, just thinking about that type of mindset and the type of environment they come from, you know, I appreciate those guys for always being authentic. You know, they always gave us they real selves. You know, I look at NBA Youngboy. You know, NBA Youngboy might got a little gangster in him, but a lot of times when I look at him, I don't see that. I don't think I see NBA Youngboy. I do see Kentrell. I see that young man that may be hurting. That young man that really may be fucked up because of all of the things that he's seen, all of the things that he's been through. And let's not, you know, pretend like certain entities don't use that pain against them. So I feel like the boy put the pain in his music, and the music industry uses it as a weapon. As too many of them. But like I said, think about those young men and just think about the type of environment they was raised in. And I want to, it was David Banner. If you want the narrative of what these guys are talking about, if you want that to change, then the environment has to change. The quote-unquote culture has to change. Because that's literally what they're putting into the music. That's what, you know, they say art imitates life, right? They're imitating their environment. That's it. And some guys don't come from that, but even when you're exposed to it, that's the same type of conditioning. You don't have to necessarily be in it. Just simple exposure can do the same amount of damage. So yeah, you may not was raised in the hood, but if you see enough of it on TV, or if you see enough of it around you, you're going to eventually emulate that behavior. And you get a lot of parents who say, oh, well, I didn't raise my child like that. You didn't. But the streets probably did. And because some parents, let's be real, you know, you trying to goddamn make sure these kids is taken care of. So, you know, some parents don't have the time. It sucks, you know, and no, it shouldn't be an excuse, but it's one of them factors I was talking about. If we gonna talk about the problem, we definitely gotta consider all of the things that come with the problem. If we talk about the disease, we gotta consider the symptoms. So I did, like I said, I appreciate him for being honest about the symptom. And when you condition to not say anything and not do anything, that's what you, and even, ooh, this is a good one. Ooh. You know, you get a lot of people that say, well, where the gangsters at? And the gangsters need to be the number ones on the street. You know, they the ones terrorizing everybody. They need to be the... You are absolutely right. But how many of those guys actually know that they have the power to even do that? When you are conditioned to kill someone that looks like you, when you are conditioned to kill what's familiar, something that's foreign, you're gonna damn near be scared of it. And sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes that fear kick in. Of course you ain't scared of what you see every day. Of course you ain't scared of something that's just like you. But something that's different? Oh, it's oh hell no on sight. So, you know, that same kind of mindset has to go into that. They don't know that they even have that power because they so used to thinking, they're conditioned to think that what's really their ally, they're conditioned to think that that's the enemy. And I ain't telling nobody to go out and shoot up nothing, but I am saying that same oomph and that same motivation and that same passion that goes into gangbanging, that same passion can definitely be revered and put somewhere else and channeled somewhere else. And if not, if it can't be channeled to do something good, it will definitely be channeled to do the opposite. It's either a high vibration or it's a low vibration. It's gonna do one of the two. So I think we need to start taking those things into consideration, and like I said, see what type of solution we can find with it. I think that's part of our damn problem too. We trying to change each other. Stop trying to change folks and just be able to apply what they already have, what they can already do. It's just like if we'll take basketball for instance. If you got a shooter, if you got somebody who can handle the ball, if you got a big man, if you got everybody where they need to be, you don't need the big man bringing the ball down. You don't need the big man trying to do what the guards can do, because that's not his role, that's not his position. You don't fuck around and lose the game because you're trying to play somebody else's position. You're trying to change what you already are capable of doing. No, you good at that. Do that. And do that shit to the best of your ability. So we got to stop trying to change folks and trying to make them think the way that we think. No. Y'all fucking up the process. Y'all touching shit. Like in the words of Carlos Miller, stop touching shit. Please, just quit touching shit altogether. So like I say, if we take more of this stuff into consideration, if we stop arguing for a damn second and listen. Everybody can't talk at the same time. That's the problem too. Everybody want to lead. Where the hell are you leading people to? That ain't everybody's job. That's part of the reason we fucked up too. Because every time somebody open their mouth, oh, that must be the new leader. So people come running over here. People come running over there. Ain't that in the Bible? That's somewhere in the Bible. I don't know. Where people would say, oh, Jesus over here. Oh, Jesus over there. How about if everybody sit the fuck down? Jesus might come to you. And I don't necessarily believe in it, but I've heard some stories before. So, you know, I'm just trying to bring it all back home. If we all run into this one, if we all run into that one, see, that's a perfect example right there. We can't fucking be still. You can't gather information if you're constantly in motion. Your brain doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't really work that way. We think we can multitask. We cannot. And instead of trying, like I said, instead of trying to multitask, instead of trying to change folks and instead of trying to tell folks what to do, you do what you can. And that's how we start this movement. We start moving forward. And I think, I've been seeing videos about that too. How, we want to cancel everybody that don't agree. To my sister Candace O, ain't her name Candace Owens or Candace Davis, something like that. I'm sorry. But so we ain't gonna cancel you. We just gonna write you off, and she just don't know no better. Kanye is in that same category. You just don't know no better. And I hope and pray that eventually you may change your mind. It's a lot of people in that category. And we can't blame and fault them either, because they have a similar experience sometimes, but they don't talk about it. See, but that's, like I say, that's part of that conditioning. You see how far stretched out not talking about shit? You see how far the bullshit line can go if you don't talk about it and if you don't deal with it? It can go very far. And when I say go far, I'm talking about from one generation to the next generation like we just passing it along. Some of this stuff we got to tear up. And shout out to the millennials and what is that, Generation X, Generation Z, one of y'all. Somebody. We gonna get it right. But like I say, there are some things culturally that we do need to start changing. And it's not so much of trying to figure out how to treat the police better. We need to figure out how do we treat each other better, and how do we figure out how to take our neighborhoods back. How do we figure out how to turn our young gangsters, our young soldiers, how do we figure out how to turn them into soldiers for real? How do we figure out how to, like I said, channel that aggression and channel all of those things that they possess as young men? How do we channel that in the right direction? You don't need to take it from them. You just need to figure out where to put it. Show them where to put it. And stand back and watch them light the way. They can do it. But if you think about just our young black men, yeah, they act the way they act, they do what they do. But see, that's when you got to bring in the factor and consider, okay, the young black man acting the fool. So what does that say about the older black man? Where's your role in that? Oh, you had something to do with that shit, whether you believe it or not. You had something to do with it. And whether that boy was right beside you or somewhere in your vicinity, you had something to do with it. Or the lack thereof sometimes. And then if you look at that generation and say, or that group of men and say, okay, well, what about the group of men that was supposed to show them? See, then you start unwinding. You start unwinding the problem. And you start seeing that, oh, this may be something that's systematic. This may be bigger than just, something that's happening individually. It's bigger than that. So like I was saying, man, I appreciate Wayne for speaking his piece on it. I appreciate him for being completely honest and really just giving us, hey man, this is what you see is what you get. And I think that's something, we can honestly say we've always seen that from Wayne. That's not anything new. But we also, ain't nothing wrong with asking him to change his perspective. But we also have to consider, okay, he may not. Or he may not have known. And now that he know, we can, we do have more of an expectation for him to do better. But like I was saying, that's why people have to stop looking at people, stop glorifying people. Because when you glorify people, you take every word that they say as gospel. Trust me, I done been in that spot before. And I found myself angry at that person because I'm like, well, you said this and you said that. And it's only because I took their word for gospel. If I wouldn't have took their word for gospel, it wouldn't have affected me as much. And I actually saw something earlier where Minister Farrakhan was saying, if you crave charisma and the way that I speak and the way that I carry myself, you will die when I die. But if you took what I taught you and you ran with that, you'll live on. You'll live on and you'll be able to teach that to somebody else. You'll be able to give that to somebody else. So we got to stop glorifying people. We got to stop looking for a leader. We got to stop thinking that, somebody going to have an answer for us. Somebody going to have a solution. Somebody going to rescue us. We got to put all of that behind us. And it's time to put our hands to the plow. It's time to work. It's time to work, man. Our ancestors ain't do all the stuff that they've done for us to sit down on it. So the people that say, oh, well, our ancestors fought for our right to vote. Absolutely. And somebody should be doing that. Our ancestors fought for our right to practice in certain environments and do this and that. You're absolutely right. So you do them an honor by carrying on that torch. You do them an honor by doing those things that they paved the way for you to do. And you do them better so the next generation can be on that same path. That's it. That's what it means to give your kids what you never had. Give them a better life. Give them something better where they can say, okay, I'm a top that. Is in a way, every generation should be in competition with the last. Absolutely. And why? Because it makes you better. If you ain't got no competition, you don't know what conflict feels like. You don't know what losing feels like. Sparring by yourself is easy. But when you got to get in that ring with somebody else, it's different. See, now you get that real life experience of what really could happen. So, each one teach one. Help your brother out. Help your sister out. If you feel like somebody don't understand, put a little gem in their ear. If they still don't understand, agree to disagree. But y'all don't have to beef and y'all don't have to hate each other because your opinions are different. And I think that if we start there, man, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And even with that, I speak on our ancestors. We can't sit here and act like, you really think if we argue and fuss and all this stuff now, you really think motherfuckers was getting along then? I hate to say it, but you know how many folks Harriet Tubman that had to put that thing on for them to cooperate? It ain't always gonna be easy, man. We is not always gonna get along. We not always gonna like each other, and it's okay. But we have to apply that same energy into getting the shit done. Be angry. Be pissed off. Be frustrated. Be all of those things, but be those things enough to say, okay, well, we gonna make a change today. I seen y'all out there voting the other day, but even if we look at that, man, yeah, we talk about voting and all that shit, but how come the voting polls only fucked up in the black neighborhoods? I just got simple questions. I don't want no problems. I don't want no smoke. I just want to ask. But you see how I had to try to clear that up? Because I'm conditioned to think that going against the grain, going against authority makes me look a certain way. And we all do it. But we have to continue to challenge the things that aren't right, the things that we instinctively know aren't cool. Then things we instinctively know we ain't really fucking with. The things we instinctively just go along with just to keep whatever benefit we're receiving. But what does short-term comfort do for long-term dysfunction? Nothing. So like I said, man, we gotta consider those things, and we have to make sure we look at everything and not just what we can see with the naked eye. Who knew that a minute and 42-second video would turn into over 30 minutes worth of a discussion? I'm trying to look over all my stuff, make sure I covered everything. But yeah, we have to definitely understand that a lot of our behavior is conditioned. A lot of our behavior is learned, and it can be unlearned. You acting a certain way does not identify you. It doesn't make you. But hell, you keep doing that shit, then possibly. So I think we need to cut out all the name calling. We need to cut out all the arguments. Just cut out all that bullshit, man. We got folks arguing on national damn TV. Cornel West and bruh. I don't even know his name. But that's even in the Willie Lynch letter. White folks don't gotta make us look like shit. They don't have to make us look like anything. We've been conditioned to make ourselves do it. And that's the scary part. And we always hear people talk about it. I'm more afraid of us than I am them. I ain't talking about me, but I'm just saying in general. There are some people that are more afraid of somebody that look like them. Like I said this earlier. They scared of what looks familiar. But what's foreign? What's foreign? They're curious. What's foreign they want to go towards. What's foreign they want to learn more about. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we have to, like I say, apply that same energy, closer to home. The jig is up. The 400 years, 500 years up. It's time. That's enough. That's enough. And whatever that's enough mean to you, and all right. But just understand everybody ain't gonna walk in the same way throughout this journey, because everybody's dealing with a different pain tolerance. But it is a collective pain tolerance. We all dealing with it. And we don't just cry for the George Floyds. We cry for the ones who came before that. The ones who we don't even know their names. The ones who still held their names from the motherland. All of that. All of that stuff has to be considered, man. And just understand, man, we dealing with a monster. And when it comes to our mental health, or just us being better overall, we gotta hit this thing from a lot of different angles. And it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But we do have to find some type of common ground. And stop doing to each other what we've seen them do to us. That shit gotta stop too. Because it all play a role in our demise. And when you don't fucking know better, when you don't know better, and you bring harm to yourself, you can end your life and a whole bunch of other shit just by not knowing better. So, pretty much all I have for this particular segment, this particular episode. Of course, like, comment, share. Definitely hit that subscribe button. And of course, you know, we'll always be back with more juice, more tea. More things that make you just as black as me. Alright, man. It's all love, peace, and blessings to everybody. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And we will catch you all again later on this week on the Black is a Berry podcast. Love you all to life.